Welcome back to another episode of Duker Sports. I am your host, Dylan Duker, joined as always by my co host, my dependable co host, Christian Lunday. And today we've decided to do another debate panel because, quite frankly, it's fun and it's entertaining. But we've got a new segment for you today that Christian helped create. Christian created, and we're going to present it to you guys. I think you're going to really enjoy it. We think it's pretty funny, so hopefully you do too. So today we've got 7 questions that we're going to kind of go back and forth and debate on a little bit. But I'm excited. Christian, you ready?
I'm ready. Here it is.
The new segment. To duke it out.
Duke it
All
out.
right, there we go. We need to come up with a. I don't know. Is that our new slogan? It's time to duke it out. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. This
We'll
is
work
live.
on it. Yeah, work in progress.
We're shooting from our hip right now. But okay, we've got our first question, Mr. Lunday. Let's see what it is.
Do you think Lamar Jackson deserves a fully guaranteed contract?
Interesting. So Lamar Jackson thinks that he does. He's wanting $50 million guaranteed per year for 4 or 5 years. Let me present a few things to you. So Lamar Jackson has a career quarterback rating, so in terms of passing, of 96.7. That's higher than Justin Herbert. It's higher than Josh Allen. It's higher than Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson's also averaging 887.4 rushing yards per season, and he didn't even start his entire rookie season pretty much. He's also averaging 25 total or touchdowns total a season throughout his career. Also taking into consideration he did not start his rookie season. All of that being said, he's also an MVP, and I still say no, absolutely not. Don't pay him guaranteed 50 million per year. My reason is probably different than some people. Like athletically speaking, skill wise, is he worth it? Maybe. However, I think because of how much he relies on his running ability, that concerns me for him heading into his 30s. How can he remain that productive on the ground for how many more years? Is he hasn't stayed healthy the past 2 seasons? That's a huge red flag for me, especially for someone who runs the ball that much. So I say no, primarily because of his health reasons. But that's not to diminish the talent this guy has. He's a former MVP for a reason. He's an absolute freaking stud. But 50 million guaranteed per year is too much. I think he should have taken the contract. I read that they offered him 4 years, 200 million, 150 guaranteed, and he said no. That shocks me because that's the exact contract that I think he should sign.
So I actually am going to say yes, but here's why. I'm with you. I think I think this contract had he signed a fully guaranteed contract at this point would permanently alter the rest of the NFL for its entirety. Because I think running backs, highly touted running backs coming out of college, I think they should be able to seek fully guaranteed contracts because of the average shelf life of running backs, and how much their position has been monetarily devalued. But I do think that Lamar Jackson deserves a fully guaranteed contract. I just think the contract numbers, the figures he's looking at, 50 million a year, way too much. I do think 25 million dollars a year fully guaranteed, no matter what happens, for 4 years, 5 years, I would totally do that deal for Lamar Jackson. What's holding him back is I think what's going to hold back a certain player that we'll talk about in the next few questions or so. But I do think Lamar Jackson right now, even though he's been injury prone a little bit the past couple seasons, he's still the 2019 NFL MVP. He's still put up incredible numbers. He's probably the most beautiful player to ever to come out of college since Barry Sanders. Just watching him play, just the awe factor he has, and I think that his constant improvement in the passing game has made me at least hopeful that he can continue to progress to be a pure pocket passer by the time his physical prime is over. So to me, at a much lesser number, I do think he deserves a fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they get him for 25 to 30 million guaranteed. If I was the general manager of the Ravens, this dude is our team. He is our entire team basically. I would be willing to pay him up to 40 million guaranteed per year, but I'm not doing 50. I am not doing 50.
Impressive. $40 million guaranteed. Dang.
Oh yeah. I mean, you see other guys that's like Derek Carr. That's similar. That's close to the contract that he just got. Honestly, it's not that far off. So I don't know. You see guys nowadays that I would love to agree with you and say that let's simplify NFL contracts, but the world it's not simple anymore, Christian. This isn't the simple world of our grandfathers and their fathers before them. This is a complicated business world.
That's right. The word in the question is deserve.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think if he were to get a fully guaranteed contract, it would permanently alter the rest of contract negotiations in perpetuity for the existence of the NFL in almost every facet of positional skill players and even offensive line and defensive linemen. And I don't think it will happen because we need, even humans, we are more motivated by incentives, and that's why incentives are built into the contract. But football is a violent game. Players understand more and more what they're getting themselves into. So I think just permanently fully guaranteed contract. I just think it's out of reach, but deserve. Football wise, I do think Lamar Jackson deserves a fully guaranteed contract. Moving on, Dylan. Will Anthony Richardson go first overall?
Call me a negative Nancy, but I say no. I'm going no again, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, I think Anthony Richardson has cemented himself as the number 2 quarterback that's going to be taken in this year's draft. That doesn't mean that he's the second best, because I think Hendon Hooker is the second best, if not the best. Honestly, I'd probably take him number 1 out of all the quarterbacks listed because of his size. He has great running ability, second only to Anthony Richardson among the quarterbacks vying for the top quarterback position. But you look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young's a clearly better thrower. He's not as good of a runner, but he's still very inept at running the ball. He's perfectly fine. He's not going to put up Anthony Richardson type numbers. He doesn't have Anthony Richardson type athleticism, but he has an ability to run the ball. He reminds me, I don't know if other people are saying this, but he reminds me of Russell Wilson very much. They look like very similar players, in my opinion. I think Anthony Richardson's going to go number 2 among quarterbacks. I imagine that people are going to trade up and go get him. I think he did enough at the combine to warrant that draft position, but he concerns me. His inconsistency in terms of accuracy concerns me. His running ability, there's no question about it. The guy had 9 rushing touchdowns last year. He ran over 600 yards in college football, which is impossible to do because sacks subtract your rushing yards. But his throwing ability, that's the big question mark. I love that he displayed his cannon of an arm. You could tell that he's been working. His footwork was still sloppy, but in modern NFL, that isn't, it's still bad, but it's not as bad as it used to be. So as long as you get outside the pocket, but I think that makes their offense more one-dimensional or not even one-dimensional. You're taking away a whole half of the field, though, basically, every time you do that. So I don't like a quarterback who can't sit in the pocket when he needs to. That's what he needs to work on. However, you saw that from like Jalen Hurts. That was a big thing with Jalen Hurts. You talk about a guy that has Jalen Hurts size. He's actually even bigger, and he's faster. So I think you look at him. I think Jalen Hurts just benefited him greatly this year. But Jalen, I thought, was a better thrower of the football in college. But I think you see an SEC guy like that put up massive numbers at the combine. He just killed every single drill. So I think he goes number 2. But I look at CJ Stroud. The reason why I think that he'll go number 2, I think CJ Stroud, the old Ohio State quarterback curse, I think is going to hurt him. I think he's going to fall. And then obviously the injury to Hooker, I think, is going to prevent him from going ahead of him. So is he the number 2 quarterback taken? Yeah. Is he a top 5 pick? Probably. Is he in contention in my mind for the number 1 overall pick? No, nor should he be.
See, that's the kicker. Should he be the number 1 overall pick? Absolutely not. Will he? I think there's a high probability he will. I think general managers fall in love with players, owners fall in love with players, and they do everything they can to get that player, even if it means stupid decisions and mortgaging the future of your franchise. And because I can almost guarantee that at least one person will be like that, I would be willing to bet that Anthony Richardson, after the combine performance, will be the first overall pick, even if it's a dumb decision, which I would think that it would be. But I think there are quarterback needy teams who have said no to Lamar Jackson. It's I'm not sure why, but actually I am sure why. But they've said no to Lamar Jackson, and I wonder if one of those teams is sitting there like, I'm going to trade up with the Bears, and I'm going to get the first overall pick, and I'm going to take Anthony Richardson from these other teams, and I think that's because part of Anthony Richardson's upside is being basically juxtaposed over by Josh Allen's success, by the success of Jalen Hurts, and by the success of some other less orthodox quarterbacks. And I think Josh Allen's success is really influencing the way GMs are looking at Anthony Richardson, because it's like, who cares if right now he can't, hit the broadside of a barn and, out routes or, intermediate routes over the middle with people in his face. The guy's got a rocket arm, and we can teach the other stuff. And he's got amazing athletic ability. I think he shouldn't be the first overall pick because there's a lot more to being a quarterback than those attributes. But I think he will be. I think there's a high probability he will be, because I think GMs are excited about his athletic ability, and they've seen the success of other players with lesser athletic features and similar throwing motions and similar throwing patterns that Anthony Richardson possesses, that they're willing to basically overlook all of the other flaws and take the upside on Anthony Richardson.
I saw another mock draft today predicting the Colts to trade up to number 1 pick and take Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young going number 2 to the Texans. It could happen. It could happen.
Good.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it's not. I don't think it's going to. I still don't think it is.
All right. Well, let's do this one. Is there any argument for Derek Carr being the best quarterback in the NFC?
So Christian was telling me he saw. I can't remember, who did you say it was that said he's the best quarterback in the NFC South?
I saw quite a few Twitter posts about him being easily already the best quarterback in the NFC South. I saw it on some national media debate shows earlier this morning. So I wanted to get your opinion there, Dylan.
So I do think he's the best quarterback in the NFC South. So you look at guys like Sam Darnold, Desmond Ritter, and to be determined in Tampa Bay. I don't know who the heck the quarterback's going to be there. Nobody does. But best quarterback in the NFC, I think there's no argument that he is. And honestly, it's almost disrespectful to even pretend that there would be. And I'm going to tell you why. So I looked up, here are the top 9. This is actually, some of these guys are surprising. Here are the top 9 rated quarterbacks from last year in the NFC. Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 49ers quarterbacks right off the bat. Jalen Hurts, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers. So I wanted to take those 9 and go toe-to-toe with Derek Carr. Brock Purdy, would I take him over Derek Carr? Yes or no? Yes. He just had a 107.3 quarterback rating as a rookie who was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant. That quarterback rating is higher than any quarterback rating Derek Carr has posted in any season in his career. Brock Purdy did it being just thrown in. He got thrown into the fire, and he succeeded. He also was the top-rated quarterback throughout the season when he started. He was averaging the most yards per game. I think he had the highest quarterback rating. He wasn't turning the ball over. So I'm thinking, would I trade, if I had the offer from the Niners, Derek Carr straight across from Brock Purdy, I would never take it. Jimmy Garoppolo, would I take him over Derek Carr? Yes. Yes, I would. And once again, so you take Derek Carr's best season, quarterback rating wise. Jimmy Garoppolo has topped it 3 times. He's also been to a Super Bowl. He didn't win, but he went to one, which Derek Carr has never come close. So I take his experience. I take his statistically. I think he's going to protect the ball better. I think Derek Carr has more physical ability probably, but it would be tough for me to take him over Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Even though I think that other people, that's probably a hot take. Most people would probably take Derek Carr. Number three, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I'll take Jalen Hurts over Derek Carr every single day, twice on Sundays. He's a better passer. He's a better runner. Everything. There's nothing to talk about there. Jalen Hurts is it. He's the best quarterback in the NFC right now. Next up is Geno Smith. Now we talked about this. Well, I think it was a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago. We both ranked Derek Carr ahead of Geno Smith. I'm going to leave him there, but I'm telling you, it's splitting hairs between the two of these guys. What Geno Smith just did last year, led the league in completion percentage. He had a season that was very much on par for Derek Carr's best seasons. If you compare them statistically, they're pretty much identical. He's done it more recently than Derek Carr. Derek Carr's proven to do it multiple times. So it's kind of like, and I like to take into consideration that Derek Carr has never had the receiving core that Geno Smith just had. And if he had, who knows what he would have done with it. However, I'm going to give Derek Carr the benefit here. So that's the first person I would take Derek Carr over. Next up, Jared Goff. I'm going to be honest with you. I would stick with Jared Goff. I think it's close, but Jared Goff has a higher career quarterback rating. It's 92.8 compared to 91.8. Also, he's been to the Super Bowl. And I don't think it was a fluke. I think you look at what he just did for the Detroit Lions last year, he played phenomenal. I think that he was arguably, in my opinion, he might have been the second best quarterback if you look at the entire season. Because Purdy didn't play the whole season. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play the whole season. Geno Smith, maybe, but I think Jared Goff, what he did was more impressive because he did it on the Lions. So I think Jared Goff might have been the second best quarterback behind Jalen Hurts in the NFC, and I think he has earned the right to be the starter for Detroit. He should have earned the respect years ago of other people around the league. He's been to the Super Bowl. I'll take that over Derek Carr. Next, Sam Darnold. No. I would definitely take Derek Carr over Sam Darnold. I've never liked Sam Darnold. I don't know. I didn't like Sam Darnold when he played for USC. He turned the ball over. He looks like trash. He plays like trash. Now he's coming off of his best season. It still wasn't that good, quite frankly. I would take Derek Carr over him all day. So then next, it's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins last year had his worst season in 8 years. In 8 years. Still, it would be Derek Carr's fifth best season of his career out of 9. So it's kind of like right in the middle for him. And that's Kirk Cousins' worst season. So you kind of look at his worst season is an average season pretty much for Derek Carr. I would definitely take Kirk Cousins over Derek Carr. I think Kirk Cousins does not get the respect that he deserves. He's had the benefit of playing with one of the best receivers in the league every year he's been in Minnesota, whether it's been Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson, and he's had Adam Thielen the whole time, and Dalvin Cook. So he's been very blessed with his receiving options. Still, I'm taking him. To me, he is more proven than Derek Carr. Next up would be Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's a better passer. I think Dak Prescott's a better runner. He's also had the benefit of playing for the Dallas Cowboys, but I still would take Dak Prescott over him, which leaves us with the last quarterback on that list of the top 9, which is Aaron Rodgers. As of right now, he's still in the NFC. Who knows what could happen in the coming days or in the coming weeks. However, anyone who would say they take Derek Carr over Aaron Rodgers, I don't care if it's even right now, this late in his career. You still take Aaron Rodgers over him. So there we look at it. I think Derek Carr is currently the 8th best quarterback in the NFC at best. And that's not counting if Matthew Stafford comes back healthy. How does Kyler Murray come back and play under a new coaching staff? So at best, he is 8, but he's honestly struggling to stay in the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFC, in my opinion.
Dylan, I 100% agree with you. There's no argument for Derek Carr being the best quarterback in the NFC. I think he is automatically the best quarterback in the NFC South. I agree with every take that said that. But in the entire NFC, I'd take 3 guys immediately over Derek Carr right now. Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts. All 3 of them I would take over him in a heartbeat. There's no argument. If I'm going to take those 3 guys over him, then there's no argument because they all currently are quarterbacks in the NFC. Each one of them has been to a Super Bowl. Each one of them has had MVP caliber seasons. 2 of them have actually won NFL MVP. And Matthew Stafford even though he never won MVP, he had like 2, 3, 5,000 plus passing yard seasons. With the Lions, he had Calvin Johnson, sure, but that team wasn't always. It was mainly bereft of talent, and he still did that. So yeah, I would take those three guys over him in a heartbeat. You mentioned Sam Darnold. Sounds like in your mind he went from trash to recycling. So I'm like, Sam Darnold, he's easily better than a few other quarterbacks you listed. He's easily better than. But if you're starting off your argument with, I don't know if I would take Kirk Cousins over him or not. Maybe Kirk Cousins actually played really well his entire career. Just big games he falters. Well, you're in the weeds with Kirk Cousins. You haven't even reached top 5 status. So yeah, there's no argument for Derek Carr being the best quarterback in the NFC.
Do you think he's top 8, given what I just said?
Um,
In the top
I
half of
do.
quarterbacks.
I would put him at top 8. I know Brock Purdy had a phenomenal second half of the season, but I would still take Derek Carr over him because Derek Carr has a larger body of work and a larger sample size. And I think Brock Purdy was on one of the best rosters, most complete rosters I think you'll ever see. I think the 49ers, top to bottom, are easily, if they're not the best team in the NFL on paper, they are easily top 2, top 3. So I think Brock Purdy was really benefiting from that. Plus, you have Kyle Shanahan. I don't think Derek Carr has ever had a coach that caliber of Kyle Shanahan, nor an offensive line, nor a receiving core. So, yeah, I would probably take Derek Carr over Brock Purdy, which would probably put him in the top 8 in your list.
What about you look at Jimmy Garoppolo and Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins? Any of
See,
them?
that's the tier that I think Derek Carr is on. He's on their level. He is not better than them. I don't think he's worse than them. I think you're splitting hairs if you're trying to figure out if you would take one over the other. Dak Prescott has had phenomenal seasons scoring points when he's at the helm of the Dallas Cowboys, and he's won them some games. Kirk Cousins has, if you just look at his stats, Kirk Cousins has balled out almost the entirety of his career, just stats. Like, you don't break it down by Monday Night Football games or whatever, and his terrible win-loss record on primetime games. Just look at stats on paper. Kirk Cousins is honestly a very, very good quarterback. And then you've got Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been to a Super Bowl. He almost won it. He was very close to winning it. He's been on the Patriots. He sat behind Tom Brady. He was 5-0 when he stepped in to be starting quarterback whenever there were injuries. And if you remember when he was traded to the 49ers, I think that first season after he was traded to the 49ers, he went undefeated. It wasn't very many games, but still, like that, Jimmy Garoppolo is a winner. He may not have the best stats in the world, but he's a winner, and that's more that you can say for Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr and Dak Prescott. So I'm like, all of these guys, to me, in my opinion, are on the same tier.
Yeah, I'm like, at this point now that the more I think about it, I'm like, he may not even be. He might be number 9 on my list. He's barely top 10. He's not in the top half of NFC quarterbacks as of right now, because I think Kirk Cousins does what he does, but does it better. Kirk Cousins is Derek Carr when Derek Carr is at his best, in my opinion. And I've already given all the reasons for the other guys, but I'm like, I don't even think he's in the top half of quarterbacks in the NFC right now. And I think the NFC gets a lot of disrespect with their quarterbacks. Obviously, there's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert in the AFC. The NFC still has good quarterbacks. There may not be on the level of those guys. I think the NFC might have more depth when it comes to quarterbacks, honestly, though. But neither here
Apparently,
nor there.
because the 49ers can make the NFC Championship with like 5 different quarterbacks. So, yeah, probably more depth. All right, Dylan. Where do you think DeAndre Hopkins will land?
I'm going to come out with a hot take right off the bat. New England Patriots. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a perfect marriage, a perfect fit with Bill Belichick in New England. I think that his ability to run routes, his discipline as a player. I understand that he has had some other issues throughout his career with suspensions and what have you, off the field stuff. On the field, he seems like the perfect marriage for Bill Belichick. They need a number 1 wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins is it for them. It'd be the best receiver that they've had since Randy Moss, the best wide receiver at least. I think he goes there. I think that he helps groom everyone on that team, quite frankly, because he's better than he instantly becomes the focal point of that offense. It just makes sense to me. He fits the system. I think that he's intelligent enough to understand that system, which is always the issue when you go to New England. I don't know. I think he has the toughness. He succeeds with every single quarterback. The list of quarterbacks that he has played with is ridiculous. I think that Mac Jones is better than most of the quarterbacks he's had to play with his entire NFL career. He's never had a coach like Bill Belichick. I think he wants to go to an organization that is stable because he's coming from the freaking Texans and the Cardinals, which are right now two of the most unstable organizations in the league. If he goes to New England, that helps settle that down a little bit. The only reason I see him not wanting to go there is because Belichick is not a player's coach, and quite frankly, it's freaking cold as heck in football season in Foxborough. So I see those being reasons why. But I'm like, the Patriots are literally the perfect fit. So to me, it's a Patriots number one, massive gap. Then I look at two teams. Now it depends. If I think it's the Lions and the Bears are how I have them ranked. The Bears could do it more easily because they have infinite cap space. They're the number one team in terms of cap space in the National Football League. The Lions, though, are still top 10. But imagine DeAndre Hopkins joins a Lions offense that was the number one offense in the National Football League a year ago for most of the season. The Chiefs ended up, I think, getting them right at the end. But they were top in the league in yards and in points for most of the entire season. Add DeAndre Hopkins to that team, add a healthy Jamison Williams to that team, and then just let Jared Goff go out and get MVP because he can spread the ball around to anyone he wants to. They have an improved They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Last year, much improved. Defense is a question mark, but I think he would like playing for the coach there. I think he would like. I think the city would embrace him like no one's business. And they have a great offense, and I think he'd put up huge numbers, which is important to him, I believe. The Bears, infinite cap space. If you're wanting money, that's where you should go. The Bears need a number one receiver. They need to see what Justin Fields can do with the receiver, the caliber of DeAndre Hopkins. I think they could just throw a ton of money at him and get his attention. He may not sign, but he's dang sure going to meet with them. So those are my top three, but I think New England makes a lot of sense.
Dylan, I made a face at you, and that's because here are my notes. D-Hop equals Patriots. Pick 46 in the draft. Seems like a Belichickian thing to do a la Randy Moss.
Wow.
I think Patriots are the exact landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins. I think they're in dire need of a talent like him, even though he's aging. I think that Bill Belichick has been historically bad at getting high-quality wide receivers in the NFL draft. And I think this is an opportunity to actually get Mac Jones a reliable wide receiving weapon. And I think the Patriots will do that. Just like you, I have the Bears number 2. I think the Bears are bereft of talent outside of Darnell Mooney on their wide receiving core. I'm sorry, guys. I love Byron Pringle. He's a Chiefs favorite, but he's not going to cut it. Even as a number 2, we got to get someone in there. I think D-Hop would be instantly their wide R1 with Darnell Mooney as their wide R2. And I think that would give Justin Fields some weapons moving forward so he can spread the ball around and actually show off his arm. I have the Chiefs coming up at number 3. Everyone's linking them to the Chiefs. I understand why. Stability is important to D-Hop. He also wants to win, so you can definitely win at the Chiefs in the Chiefs building. But I just don't think those teams come close. I think the Patriots have the right amount of draft capital to send to the Cardinals and what they want, and I think the Patriots are a great fit for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I think I did say the Lions were my number 2, not the Bears, but the Bears also got Chase Claypool at the end of last season, so that he would make a pretty complete receiving core for them. But that organization is also like they're fighting right now whether they're even going to stay in Soldier Field or if they're going to move somewhere else. So you're talking about more organizational dysfunction. I don't think he's about that. So yeah, I'm like, I agree with you. I think that's hilarious. We did not know that the other person was going to say that at all. But yeah, he is literally. If this is not the 2007 Patriots going to go get Randy Moss, I don't know what is. They competed for a playoff spot last year in the toughest AFC East division we've seen my entire time watching the NFL. All three teams, all four of them competed for the playoffs until the very final weeks of the season. Go get DeAndre Hopkins. Plain and simple, it is the most logical move to go make for both sides.
Exactly. All right, Dylan. Next question. What do you make of the meeting with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers? Is there smoke or is it fire?
Well, here's the thing: where there's smoke, there's typically fire, and in this case, yes, there's both. I don't think that the Jets are meeting with Aaron Rodgers for fun, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers would go meet with the Jets if he did not have at least an inkling of desire to go play for the New York Jets. You talk about the New York Jets; they're one of the most historic franchises that there is in the National Football League. So you're going from Green Bay to there. I think he would probably love to play. It's still cold weather, unfortunately for him. However, the stadium is probably going to be just as electric because they're going to fill the stadium. Also, why not follow in Brett Favre's footsteps? That's where he went to finish out his career. Why not go do that? Go to the big lights, get all the recognition that you want. It doesn't really fit with his ayahuasca and darkness retreat moves that he's been making. However, I think he goes there, way better receiving core than he has in Green Bay, arguably better than any receiving core he's ever had. You talk about Brees Hall coming back, an improved offensive line, and a championship caliber defense. The New York Jets are a Super Bowl contender if Aaron Rodgers goes to them. Between that defense and a loaded offense, it makes a lot of sense. The other part of this is for Green Bay. We talked about this. Should they trade him? I'm pretty sure we agreed on this, but I know for sure I said trade the man because you're not going to compete for a Super Bowl. I promise you. The Green Bay Packers are not good enough to win a Super Bowl as constructed. They would have to make massive improvements to the whole roster to get there. And I think you trade him because you're going to lose him. This is probably his last year in Green Bay, regardless. I think he probably retires. I think he comes back because he's due $59.5 million this year, the highest paying year of his 3-year contract. It wouldn't make sense to retire now. If he retires next year, he would be making $42 million, which is $17 million less. Um, I think it makes a lot of sense. The Jets are one of the few organizations that I think are so desperate for a quarterback, they will trade for a 1 to 2 year rental quarterback just to be relevant. Because gosh dang, that team is ready to go. I think they have a roster that's worthy of going deep in the playoffs, minus a quarterback. Look how good they were this year at times with freaking Mike White and Joe Flacco, and even for a little while Zach Wilson. Look how good that team was with those guys. Plug Aaron Rodgers in. I think you look at a team that wins 13, 14 games next year.
Yeah, there's definitely smoke. There's definitely fire. I don't know if it's just the remnants of whatever psychedelic Aaron Rodgers is taking right now, but you know what? If I'm the Jets, you got to do this. You got to make this deal, no matter what it takes. Not true. Don't give away Brees Hall. Don't give away Sauce Gardner. Don't make a stupid trade like that. But you got to make this deal done. I think if you do this, you are in contention in the AFC to at least make a deep playoff run. You are a contender. You have a good defense. You got a retooled offensive line. You have Aaron Rodgers, just like Dylan said, would have the best weapons he's had basically since White Lightning and Greg Jennings were on his team. I think, in totality, the Jets have a very intriguing roster, a much better roster than when Brett Favre went there. He's got way more talent. Aaron Rodgers also loves to be a celebrity. I think he loves the attention. And I think going to New York and the New York media, he is the next Broadway Joe, basically. And he is going to love it there. I don't think he'll crumble under the weight of the New York media. I think he'll rise tall to it. I don't think he cares. I don't think any media bothers him. He's gotten so much media attention for obscure things that it just doesn't faze him at all. So, yeah, I think the Jets should make this a done deal. I think there's definitely fire here.
I've been seeing on Bleacher Report a possible trade with the Jets offering him a first and a third round pick for him. I don't know if that's enough but if the Packers take that, you definitely offer it. I'm in the boat. Like, I would consider a first and 2/3, a first, a second, and a third. Like, what? Why would you say no to that? Like, especially this year, I'm like, trade them a first and a third this year and a third next year. And I'd be half tempted if they ask for a first and 2 seconds. I'm considering it. I'm heavily considering it.
Yeah,
But I would want to
exactly.
meet with Aaron Rodgers first, and I would just all I would ask from Aaron is promise us 2 years. 2 years. If he will promise you 2 years, I'd trade it first in 2 seconds.
Agreed. All right, Dylan. Second to last question. If Aaron Rodgers is traded, do you think Jordan Love will perform well as the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers?
No, I do not. No, I do not. I think he would get absolutely destroyed. One, the Green Bay Packers receiving core is not that good. Two, their offensive line is not that good. Three, Jordan Love is not that good. Jordan Love has thrown what I have it written down here. I wanted to get this exactly right. He has thrown 83 pass attempts in his career, which is a very low number, but he has a 79.7 quarterback rating on those attempts. That and he's played most like not most of, but at least half of those attempts pretty much have come in garbage time. His best performance, garbage time. I don't think that he would play well. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions throughout his career. A sub 80 quarterback rating is not good. And he is not, quite frankly, if Aaron Rodgers goes, that team is going to collapse. They don't have anything else to build around. You got to go run the ball. They have 2 good running backs. That's your only hope. Run, 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 run. Have him become a game manager. Could he be a mediocre game manager? Yeah. Is he going to be successful or good? No. Are the Packers going to have a winning season? No. Is he going to earn a big contract? No. It would not be good for him. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'm in the same I'm in the same boat as you. Jordan Love is not going to perform well. I don't trust his weapons at all. They're talking about Alan Lazard, hitting the free agent market, actually having some interest. If you're the Chiefs, please stay away. Don't sign him. But he's 6'5". He's going to have some interest on the open market. But other than that, like, what weapons does he have? Jordan Love has never succeeded, even with competent weapons. He's filled in for Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was injured, and he didn't play well. So no, I don't think Jordan is going to play well now just because he's sat more games underneath the tutelage of Aaron Rodgers. That's not going to magically make him better. I don't think he had the same skills as Aaron Rodgers did coming out of Cal. I think that Jordan Love has been overhyped in his collegiate career, and I also think that the Packers have really the front office for the Packers is terrible. They've done a horrendous job over the past decade getting top tier talent at every position and keeping them. And so now you're going to throw in Jordan Love, who's barely played, with no little to no weapons at all outside of Christian Watson on the outside. Um, you know, I just don't see him succeeding. And I've never believed in him. I thought the hype was too much. I've seen people compare him to Patrick Mahomes whenever he's coming out of college. It's like, all right, slow down. I do know that Aaron Jones came out like yesterday or today and said that he believed in Jordan Love if Jordan stepped up and Aaron Rodgers was traded. He believed in Jordan Love and thinks he's prepared and ready for the moment. I don't buy that. I don't buy that for 1 second. I don't think that he is. I think Packers fans would be more than happy for me to be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. And I don't think Jordan Love is going to suddenly perform well, even after the small sample size that we've seen. And he's actually not performed well at all.
I watched him play in college. He played for Utah State. That's a nearby to where I live up here. BYU plays Utah State pretty regularly. I don't even know why he got drafted as high as he did. He was really good at Utah State, but I'm like, he did not look like a quarterback that was ready for the National Football League. All of this being said, I think you owe him the opportunity. If Aaron Rodgers gets traded, I think he deserves it. He deserves to be the day one starting quarterback. You give him at least 4 games minimum as a starter, and you see where it goes. If you can draft a quarterback or you can pick up a veteran in free agency, which there's not a lot left, so I don't know. But you take him, and then you kind of just wait and see how he does. If you can't find someone worth grooming, let him play the whole year. Play it out. Let him go through the ups and downs and see, is there something here to build off of? You finally know. They've been saying that for the last couple of years. It's like it's time to see if Jordan Love can be the answer. Let's find out. If Aaron Rodgers gets traded, let's find out what's one rebuilding year. Worst case scenario, you lose every single game. You get the number 1 pick in the draft. You take Caleb Williams next year.
This is what I hate. This should have been done last year. When they're 4-8, everyone's like, well, you're saying there's a chance we're going to keep playing Aaron Rodgers. No, you should have let Aaron Rodgers go on a mini retirement and seen what you had in Jordan Love. But because the front office for the Packers, I don't makes dumb decisions every 3 decisions they make, suddenly they're like, no, we're going to let Aaron Rodgers play. No, you should have played Jordan Love the last games of the season. You could have seen what you had. You could have seen and let other Packers fans seen if Jordan Love was ready or not, or if he was even going to be a viable starting quarterback for the foreseeable future for your franchise. And if he wasn't, you can make a serious push at luring Aaron Rodgers back to your team. Whether it's promising him that you'll trade up in the draft in the first round and draft an actual competent wide receiver to go along Christian Watson, or some other, if it's more money, whatever he wants, you could have actually made some decisions that would have helped propel your franchise forward earlier. And you know what? That was a position that a lot of people actually held when they were 4-8, and they were vindicated whenever the Packers lost and were booted from playoff contention. So I, I'm just not happy with the Packers front office, and I think they've actually set Jordan Love up for failure. But I'm with you. He's earned the right to start for a full season. He's earned the right to play, and I think that unfortunately, not only because of his shortcomings as an actual quarterback talent that I think could be remedied under the right situation, but also the front office ineptitude has caused him really a lot of pain that I don't think he's going to foresee this next season, but it's going to come.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any way in heck they could have benched Aaron Rodgers, because if you bench Aaron Rodgers, number one, he definitely retires when the season's over or leaves guaranteed. I don't think they were ready to make a move like that when you're talking about an all-time great like Aaron Rodgers, who is a easily top 10, probably top 5 quarterback of all time. That's too much pressure. You can't bench him. I understand what you're saying. But yeah, I'm like now's the time. Now like you have to trade Aaron Rodgers right now, because this is it. Either that or he's going to retire for nothing, and you're not going to win another Super Bowl. So I say trade him right now. If you get 2 first-round picks from anyone, I'd be shopping him around. If anyone offers 2 first-round picks, I'd take that all day long. But if I can get a first and 2 seconds, like I said earlier, I'm taking that too. But you got to get something for the guy.
All right, Dylan. Last question. So there's been reports that the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry and the Browns are shopping Nick Chubb. Do you think the Titans and Browns are in rebuilding mode?
Okay. The Titans, as the guy in the fight, you're not that guy. What about you? Absolutely. The Titans, absolutely, are in rebuilding mode. Absolutely, they are. Because the Titans, what are you building on? What do you have to build on? You have Traylon Burks. You can try to build on that. You have Kevin Byard, who I think also gets traded. That's a hot take. But he's 29 years old. You're not going to pass anytime soon. You might as well trade him and get a second-round pick out of him or a third-round pick. I don't know. Jeffrey Simmons, I have him written down. That might be your third best player when you talk about players to build around. He's not really a player you build around. Also, they're 9th in the NFL in cap space. So you have the space. So restructure or trade Ryan Tannehill. Trade Kevin Byard. Trade, I don't know, anyone's capable of being traded for anything, any draft picks, compensation. Do it. Because there's no point. This team, Robert Woods is gone. That he hated it there. The whole team is kind of, I don't know. It's funny how quick they fall. They were just in an AFC championship, and now they're in total, absolute rebuild. You know why? One big reason, they let A.J. Brown go. That should not have happened. They refused to pay the man. Everyone else from his draft class getting paid except for him. They wouldn't do it, so he left. Look what he just did in Philadelphia. He is sorely missed. Imagine Traylon Burks lining up opposite of him. It opens up everything. But Derrick Henry is that entire team, and it's not enough to even get to the playoffs right now because the Jaguars have completely captured the momentum of that division. And the everyone else, like I think the Titans are the second best team if Tannehill's the quarterback and if Derrick Henry stays healthy. And they have cap space to make other moves. So they could try to spend it in other areas. I say blow the whole thing up. Derrick Henry's at the end of his career. He's been still playing phenomenal, but you might be able to get a first-round pick or at least a second out of him right now, in my opinion. Running backs aren't valued, so worst-case scenario, If I can get a first or a second, definitely taking it. If I can get a third, I'd consider it. But you have cap space, so I'd say you probably would skyrocket into the top five in cap space if you're able to trade him and Bayard, trade both of them, and you can do whatever you want this offseason. I don't think the roster as constructed can win a championship. They should be in total rebuild. Cleveland Browns, I'm gonna be honest with you, they can't afford to be in a rebuild. They can't afford that. They're 26th in the NFL in cap space. They can't afford that. They're paying Deshaun Watson a guaranteed contract worth $50 million per year. They can't afford that. They've got Jadeveon Clowney. He wants gone. They can't afford that. He's leaving too. So I'm like, no. The Browns aren't in rebuild mode because they can't be in rebuild mode because they can't afford that. You look at the Browns, here's the good news for them. You have some things to build on. You got to keep, first of all, do not let Nick Chubb go. That would be stupid. The guy is still young. He's still extremely productive. And the Browns, I think they're a few pieces away from being able to compete easily for that division, if not a deep playoff run. Number one, get Deshaun Watson back to any sort of resemblance to where he was in Houston, and you have a chance right there. Number two, I think you got to bring in somebody to compete with Amari Cooper opposite of him at least, because Cooper was that receiving core. Look how well Donovan People-Jones played opposite of Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper is one of my favorite receivers in the league because of what he does for everyone else on the team he plays for. He opens it up for everyone because that's how good he is at route running. But yeah, I think the Cleveland Browns, you have Myles Garrett, you have Denzel Ward, you have a good secondary all the way around. You have Deshaun Watson, who you've invested into. You have a good offensive line. You can't afford to be in rebuild mode right now. You have to just hope and pray that this Deshaun Watson debacle doesn't just sink your franchise for the next 4 or 5 years straight and put you back in the dungeon where you've been for pretty much your entire existence as a franchise. Yeah, to me, I think if you're the Browns, you have 26 in cap space, restructure some contracts, bring in two things. You got to get a pass rusher and you got to get a second receiver. If you can do those two things, I think this team competes for the division. And I don't think they will go far in the playoffs, but I think they'll be a really tough out for whoever they face. But that's my top two priorities. Keep Chubb, bring in a pass rusher or another receiver, whether it's the draft or whether it's free agency. But yeah, you can't afford to be in a rebuild.
Titans, yes, rebuild mode. I said in a few episodes ago that they should look at trading or releasing almost every aging veteran that they have and starting over. I know that the corporate mainstream sports media uh loves their head coach. His name is blanking. You can help me, Dylan, head coach of
Sorry,
the
what was it?
Titans.
The
Head coach
Titans
of
head
the
coach,
Titans. Yeah.
Mike Variable.
Mike Vrabel. Good lord. Had it right there. Couldn't quite get it. They love Mike Vrabel, but I think one of the biggest things that he's done is try to make a mark on the culture of the team in the locker room by losing guys. Because you refuse to pay AJ Brown, but you don't have the talent, and you didn't prepare for his absence. You just traded him away,
I
and you
think they
replaced him
thought
with Robert
Traylon Burks
Woods.
was the replacement.
I mean, yeah, you drafted Traylon Burke, but that's not a replacement. The dude's a rookie. He's not going to replace AJ Brown. AJ Brown was an established wide receiver, and if you really would have thought about team building, like you could have had both of them, and that would have been an amazing wide receiving core. But instead, you trade away one. You get Traylon Burke. He's good. He produced when he played. He just got hurt, and that was it. You didn't even make the playoffs. You Derrick Henry, you lost him for some of the games of this past season. He still produced, so he's still a top of the line running back. But like he is your team, just like you were saying, he is your team because you ostracized subliminally the rest of your talent and wanted them to leave because you refused to pay them. And I think that's ridiculous when you don't have a backup plan and you don't know what you're doing, even though you are a good X's and O's coach. You've made some mistakes regarding personnel, and I think it's bitten your franchise to a degree that I don't think Mike Vrabel even expected. I think now you got to trade Kevin Byard. You released Taylor Lewan. You traded away AJ Brown, and you got crumbs in return. And you got Traylon Burke, who's on your team, but he's probably your only promising young player on the offensive side of the ball. Robert Woods is gone now. I think they need to get rid of I think they need to get rid of their quarterback. I think they need to, if they're going to trade away Derrick Henry, then yeah, trade him. Try to get something for him if you're not going to keep him anymore. But you are in total rebuilding mode because you're going to give away all your talent. And I think it all started with the A.J. Brown trade. You got rid of one of your best offensive players, one of your most productive players. When the problem child I thought was Ryan Tannehill, I thought he hit his ceiling in 2019, and I didn't trust him in the playoffs. And the following years in the playoffs, he didn't produce. And in 2021, I think he had 1 touchdown to 3 picks. He cost you the game. So I'm like, this guy's clearly hit his ceiling. I think you need to get rid of him. I know a lot of players or a lot of commentators, especially like Clay Travis, who's a huge Tennessee Titans fan, thought that Ryan Tannehill should be released a long time ago. They think like, oh, let's draft Malik Willis. Because he'll be the replacement for Ryan Tannehill. Terrible decision. We saw Malik Willis play against the Chiefs. The Titans almost won, by the way, but Malik Willis threw like what? I don't know, 3 passes? That's ridiculous. Like their whole I don't think they even have a plan. I don't think they have a plan, and because of that, they've plunged themselves into franchise destitution and are now in rebuilding mode. As for the Cleveland Browns, they are I don't they are basically Joker in the Dark Knight lighting this stack of cash on fire. They apparently don't care. They gave Deshaun Watson a stupid contract, especially considering his off the field issues, which were egregious. Then you made a smart decision. You got Amari Cooper, but I'm like, okay, you basically used up almost all of your cap space on your quarterback. Your quarterback didn't even play well this year. He's basically been 2 years removed from football, and now you're looking at you're going to let Kareem Hunt walk. You're going to trade away Nick Chubb. You have Amari Cooper. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think you could easily get another talent on the offensive side of the ball, and you're in prime position if you keep Nick Chubb, not trade him, and you keep Amari Cooper on there. You've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had a good season last season, and another year with Deshaun Watson. You've got a viable offensive team there. The problem is on defense. Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett are your 2 best uh, defensive players, but Jadeveon Clowney's too expensive for what he actually can provide. So yeah, don't pay him, but you really couldn't afford it anyway because you locked up 80 million% of your cap space with Deshaun Watson after 2 years removed from playing football and on very serious sexual assault allegations, might I add. So, you can't even, just like you said, Dylan, you can't even afford to be in rebuild mode, nor should you be in rebuild mode. If you retool, that's one thing, which you should look at the defense, really. You're going to have to draft, you're going to have to be the Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to have to draft a plethora of young defenders, and you're going to have to play them all. You're going to have to play them all. And you're going to have to let them get experience. But your offense is viable to compete in the AFC. So I don't even know why they're even thinking of trading away Nick Chubb. I think that's a stupid decision. Obviously, you got to let Kareem Hunt walk. He is a number 1 running back talent, and he's been proving that year after year, even behind Nick Chubb. So you got to he's going to walk. He's going to be too expensive. You got to let him walk. But you can keep Nick Chubb. He's young, just like you said. He's talented. He produces. He's your workhorse. There's no reason you should be trading him.
Imagine if Kareem Hunt goes to like the Miami Dolphins. I think that'd be a pretty great fit for him. Also, you talk about the Cleveland Browns. Jadeveon Clowney, not only can they not afford him, he's also locker room cancer. Get him out anyways. Also, when I watch the Browns play, call me crazy. I think the referees were throwing flags or not throwing flags specifically to harm Deshaun Watson. And if any of the allegations against him are true, then that's what he gets. But it's kind of tough because if he's criminally, he's freed up of charges right now. I think he does have 2 pending ones, as you said. But I'm like, that's kind of a rough situation to be in. But I swear, I watch games and I kind of thought that may be what was happening. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm like, that offense is actually, it's pretty loaded, quite honestly. Other than because they've got David Njoku at tight end, he's playing phenomenally well. Amari Cooper. We talked about their running back. We talked about the offensive line. You got Deshaun Watson. But I really do think they are in desperate need of an explosive number 2 receiver, and then let Donovan People-Jones just do his thing out of the slot, or get a dominant slot receiver and put them there, have him on the outside. Either way, you got to do that. Their pass rush is freaking terrible. They got to do something. Myles Garrett is it. I don't think I looked it up. I forget now, but I don't remember if they had any other players with even 7 sacks on the team. I think it was all lower than that. I think they. I don't even know. I think it may have been worse than that. Even I have to look it back up. But Myles Garrett is their entire pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney doesn't gel on that defense. He complained that he wasn't being put in positions to succeed, that they were always benefiting Myles Garrett. Well, guess what? Myles Garrett is better than you. I honestly can't stand Jadeveon Clowney. I think he's an arrogant jerk. Obviously, he injured Carson Wentz and got away with it. And he talks smack about it afterwards. He thinks he's the best defensive talent on the planet. Quite frankly, he's not. He's had troubles everywhere he's been because of his arrogance. That's going to continue to happen. I don't think at this point anyone's going to pay him the amount of money that he wants. So I say let him go regardless. But yeah, you definitely got to figure out ways. I agree with you. You're going to have to figure out how to do it through the draft. That's pretty much your only option at this point. But yeah, I love what you said. The Titans, so true. They don't have a plan. And I don't know what their plan ever was. I don't think they could have had Treylon Burks and A.J. Brown. We both kind of mentioned that, but it's like the Eagles were going to take Treylon Burks if they did not trade for A.J. Brown. But it's the Malik Willis draft pick was terrible. I did not understand why anyone liked him. He was horrible at throwing the football. Yeah, against the Chiefs, is like I think he completed 2 or 3 passes the whole game. They almost won. He has great running ability, but it's like what do you do if you blow the whole thing up? I think you could possibly trade Ryan Tannehill, get out from underneath his contract after, but I don't know you can do that before the draft. I think you would have to wait to the point where you see who else, like someone's going to miss out on a quarterback. I guarantee you, there's going to be at least one team that just gets stuck without a quarterback. It could be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of how good they were having a late draft pick. It could be them. But you trade for a team like the Buccaneers would make a lot of sense to me because they have a good team otherwise. So I could see them trading like a 7th round pick for Ryan Tannehill. So it frees up the Titans from having to pay his contract. It keeps the Buccaneers at least competitive if they miss out on everybody else. But Marcus Mariota's out there, and that's another quarterback that I think is pretty decent. And I don't know. I think Ryan Tannehill, we disagree on this, but Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a pretty decent quarterback that gets a lot of crap that is not deserved on his part. But I think their plan was Malik Willis and then Treylon Burks with Robert Woods. Now, that's what I think the plan was. It didn't work. And I think it's very obvious that it's not going to work. Robert Woods is gone. Malik Willis looks like absolute trash. He cannot throw the football. So, yeah, I think they're in a world of trouble. Definite rebuild mode. I say blow the whole dang thing up. Blow the whole thing up. Even if Tannehill goes somewhere to be backup, restructure his deal, cut him, do whatever you got to do, blow it up. Because Mike Variable is firmly on the hot seat right now. And I think you nailed it right on the head. It's because they have no direction. And that starts with him and the general manager. So they're in a world of trouble. But that is our episode for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the series premiere of Duke It Out. I had a lot of fun with this episode, and we are excited. We will be back next week. Don't forget, starting next week, we will be doing only 1 episode a week, at least until free agency starts. But it's the off season, but we're still excited. We're going to come up with new and creative ideas for you guys every week. And don't forget, we've asked in the past if you are interested in hearing about something specifically, let us know in the comments. And always let us know your takes, because Christian and I do this. Yes, we do. I specifically me for sure as a career, but that's both of our goals. We both love what we do. That's why we do it. So we want to talk sports with you. So get in the comments, argue with us. Let us know what you think. Respectfully, of course, because we will retaliate. But we are prepared to go, but we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we can't wait to be back on here next week for you.